here. Okay, so the definition won't change. The differentiation definition for any value will be same only, but here you have a vector function. Okay, so first you take, suppose S be a set of real numbers. Now corresponding to each scalar in S, there is associated a unique vector in some other function. Okay, that means you take corresponding to, it's a mapping kind of thing. Okay, corresponding to each scalar, and that scalar I'll mention with T, which belongs to S, let there be associated a unique vector F bar. So generally vectors are denoted with a bar on the letter or a cap, something like that. So then this F bar is said to be a vector. Okay, there is a set of real numbers. Okay, S is a set of all real numbers. Now you have so many points here, and for each of these points there is a unique vector associated. Okay, so the result is F bar of T you are going to get. So a vector you are going to get, and this we are naming, this F bar itself we are naming it as a vector function. Okay, this is a vector function because on applying this function you are getting a result to be a vector value, therefore this is a vector function. Okay, and here S is called a vector valued function, you can write, or vector function itself you can write. Okay, so S is called the domain of F bar. Okay, similarly, suppose you have I, J, K. So I cap, J cap, K cap I have written. You can write them with a bar also. So these are three. Suppose you assume this to be three mutually perpendicular vectors. Perpendicular, of course, unit vectors in 3D space. Okay, so we can write your F bar as F bar of T, and this in component wise it can be written as F1 of T I cap plus F2 of T J cap plus F3 of T K cap. Okay, now observe here, on F there is a bar, so a vector function I'm going to get, the result is a vector. But here if I take out these components F1, F2, F3, they are the real valued functions only. As you observe, there is no bar on these functions F1, F2. Because of this I cap, J cap, K cap, overall this is a vector function, but F1, F2, F3 are here. F1, F2, F3 are real valued functions, and these are called as, components, components of F bar, okay, and here we shall assume that I cap, J cap, K cap are constant vectors. So that this is the definition of actually a vector function. Now let us see the derivative. Okay, so if F bar, let F bar be a vector function on an interval I, and suppose a point A belongs to I, then limit A it should be T tends to, then limit T tends to A, F bar of T minus F bar of A by T minus A. Is it not the same definition for real valued function also when you differentiate?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, the definition won't change. Only the function is changing here. Here the function is a vector valued function. Okay, and if this limit exists, you are calculating this limit, but it is not always necessary that the limit exists. So if this limit exists, what does it call? It is called the derivative of f bar at a. And how you will denote it? You will either denote it with f dash with a bar just to represent that this function is a vector valued function. Okay, and you differentiate. So the notations also not change. Whichever function you differentiate, you write it as with a dash. This is one form. Or the other way is you write it df bar by dt at t is equal to a. Okay, so in other words, what we also say is, if f bar is differentiable at t is equal to a, we also say that f bar is differentiable at t is equal to a if f dash of a, f bar dash of a exists. Okay, you say that f bar is differentiable at t is equal to a if f bar dash at a exists. That means limit t tends this limit exists. If this limit exists, then we say that f bar is differentiable at that point a. Okay, similarly you can define your higher order derivatives also. So here again we will now to calculate higher order derivatives, you will able to calculate the higher order derivatives. Suppose the first order derivative does not exist. That means if this limit does not exist, then the function is not at all differentiable at a given point. And if that is not differentiable even once at a given point, you can calculate higher order derivatives. Is it or not?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so
Yes,
here
ma'am.
the condition is f bar must be
Yes, ma'am.
differentiable first. Since we are calculating higher order derivatives, so f bar will be should be differentiable. So we are assuming that f bar is differentiable on some interval, on an interval I. Okay, and f bar of dash is nothing but df bar by dt. Be the derivative of f bar with respect to t. Now, if you are calculating the second, suppose you are calculating the second order derivative, then what limit you will calculate? Limit t tends to a. Now, which function you are differentiating? F bar dash you are differentiating. Is it or not? So, the result will
Yes,
be
ma'am.
f bar dash t minus f bar dash a by t minus a. So if this limit exists, for every a which belongs to some interval, and that interval again is a subset of I, is a subset of overall interval. Then what you say? Then you say f bar dash is said. Now you are not saying f bar. F bar is already differentiable, but now you are saying f bar dash is also differentiable if this limit exists on the interval I1. Okay, f bar dash is said to be differentiable on I1 at t is equal to a. Okay, and how you will denote? It is denoted by f double dash bar a, or you can write d square f bar by dt square. Similarly, you can define higher order derivative. This is for second order, third order, fourth order, any order derivative you can define. Understood this part? So as you have seen, this definition is nothing new to you people. Only instead of a real valued function f, you have a vector valued function f bar. Is it or not? Hmm. Now let
Yes,
us see
ma'am.
some properties of this differentiable functions, and of course we are not going to prove any one of this, but you should know all. So again, these properties are almost similar to real valued functions also. Okay, so first one, okay, what is the derivative of a constant vector? What should be the derivative of a constant vector?
Null vector.
Zero.
Null, zero.
No, that means is it real zero?
Vector.
Vector zero. Zero bar you will get. Okay. Now you assume if A bar and B bar are two differentiable vector functions. Two differentiable means A dash bar, B dash bar exist. Okay, differentiable functions. Then what will be d by dt of A bar plus or minus B bar? It will be dA bar by dt plus or minus dB bar by dt. Okay, so here A bar, B bar, we are not assuming it to be a constant. We have defined it to be two differentiable vectors. And if that happens, then A bar plus or minus B bar, its differentiation will be dA bar by dt plus or minus dB bar by dt. So is it not the same property you apply for real valued functions also? If instead of A bar, B bar, if I write just A and B and mention them to be differentiable functions, you will get dA by dt plus dB by dt. Is it or not?
Yes, ma'am.
Similarly, here, now since these are two vectors, one more thing here I want to mention, that you should have a thorough knowledge about the dot and cross product. You have learned those things, na? Dot product, cross product between the
Yes,
vectors.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So that we will require while solving the problem. So you should have a good knowledge about those dot products and cross products, about vectors and the scalars and all. So A bar dot B bar, if I take dot product, I'm taking between these two vectors and I'm differentiating it. So the result will be dA bar by dt dot B bar plus A bar dot dB bar by dt. You write along with me. Okay. Similarly, the cross product is also possible. That is A bar cross B bar will be equal to dA bar by dt cross B bar plus A bar cross dB bar by dt. Okay. Now, if you take the dot product of two vectors, what is the result? Tell me.
A real number.
A scalar
Scalar.
value you will get.
Scalar,
Okay.
Scalar
scalar
one.
value.
So here you are going to get a scalar function which you are differentiating. Okay. So again, if you differentiate a scalar function, you will get a scalar value only. So according to even this one also, dA bar by dt will be some result. Again, you are taking a dot. These are not just multiplication. These are the dot products between these two. So if you take again dot product and add them, what's the result? Again a scalar function only you will get. Now what is the result for A bar cross B bar? Is it a scalar or a vector?
Vector,
A
vector.
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 So if you differentiate a vector function, the result will be also a vector function only. Okay. Now next one. Here we will assume f bar is a differentiable vector function, and phi is a scalar differentiable function. Two different functions we have taken, both are differentiable. One is scalar and the other one is vector. Now you need to find the differentiation of phi f bar, phi into f bar. So the result will be phi as it is df bar by dt plus d phi by dt f bar. Okay. Now suppose f bar is something like this: f1 ti plus f2 tj plus f3 tk, where this f1, f2, F3 are Cartesian components of the vector F bar, then dF bar by dt will be equal to dF1 by dt I cap plus dF2 by dt j cap plus dF3 by dt k cap. Understood all these properties? Again, these properties are nothing new to you people. Only these two included, the dot and cross product between the vectors. Okay. Now here a statement I want to know, what should be the necessary and sufficient condition for a vector to be constant function? What should be the necessary and sufficient condition for a vector to be a constant vector function? Can you tell? Yeah, will you answer?
Derivative 0.
Derivative must be equal to 0. Good. Okay. So that is the necessary and sufficient, both it is mentioned. That is, it is if and only if condition. The first statement itself we have written derivative of a constant vector is 0 vector. Okay, this is one way of saying it. Derivative of a constant vector is 0 vector. Now the other way of saying it is, if the derivative of a if the derivative of a vector is 0 vector, then that vector should be a constant. In that case only it is possible. Is it or not? So it is both way. If f bar is a constant vector, then the derivative will be equal to 0. That is one thing. Other way of saying vice versa part is, if the derivative of a vector is 0 bar, then that vector is a constant vector. Understood all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
The necessary and sufficient condition for f bar t to be constant vector function is df bar by dt must be equal to 0 bar. So this is all about the ordinary differentiation, because the function f bar is just in one independent variable. Now again, the vector valued function can have more, it can be functions of more real variables, more than one real variable. So in that case you will have partial derivatives. Again, the definition won't change here. It will be the same thing. Only instead of a real valued function, you have a vector valued function. Okay. So the partial differentiation for vector valued functions can be introduced as was done in the case of functions of real variables. Okay. So suppose you take f bar, let f bar be a vector function of scalar variables. Instead of 1, I'll take 3, P, Q and T. Okay. Then we write f bar as a function of P, Q and T. Okay. Now suppose you want to differentiate this f bar with respect to T, then what you will do if you want to differentiate f bar with respect to T, you will assume you will treat T as a variable and P, Q as constants. Is it or not? So here I am defining the partial differentiation. So treating T as a variable and PQ as constants. We define now, since limit, this is with respect to T you are writing, so the definition will be limit del t tends to 0, f bar of what is not changing? PQ is not changing, T is changing. So T plus del T minus f bar of PQT by del T. Okay. Instead of this symbol, this del, they may write triangle shape also. It doesn't matter. Okay. So if this limit exists, it is not always that it will exist. If this exists, if this limit exists, then we call it as partial derivative of f bar with respect to which variable?
T.
T variable. And this is denoted by, how you will denote it? Dou f bar by dou t. Okay. Understood the definition? Again, the definition of partial differentiation is not changed. Only instead of real valued function, you have a vector valued function here. Okay. So dou f bar by dou t. Similarly, you can define your partial derivatives with respect to p and q also. That is dou f bar by dou p you can define. Dou f bar by dou q also you can define. And the same result can be applied for calculating higher order derivatives also. Okay. Now again, with respect to these partial derivatives, you have some properties, that is dou by dou t of phi a bar. Here phi is a scalar function, a bar is a vector function. Okay, phi is a scalar function, a is a vector function. Then the result will be dou phi by dou t a bar plus phi dou a bar by dou t. Now phi is a scalar function, means this phi also will be in terms of p, q and t. And a bar is also in terms of p, q and t. But a bar is a vector, phi is a scalar. Okay. Second point, suppose lambda is a constant. Then dou by dou t of lambda a bar will be equal to what? Lambda dou a bar by dou t, where lambda is a constant. So this property also you know. So here lambda only I have written, and is a constant. So which lambda I have taken? It's a real lambda. Without bar means it's a real lambda I have taken, which is a constant. Okay. Now if I choose c bar is a constant. So this is a vector constant I'm choosing. Okay. Then dou by dou t of phi c bar will be equal to c bar out, and dou phi by dou t you will get. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Similarly, if you have dou by dou t of a bar plus or minus b bar, this can be written as dou a bar by dou t plus or minus dou b bar by dou t. Again, dot product can is also possible, that is partial differentiation with respect to t of which function? A bar dot b bar. So this result will be again dou a bar by dou t dot b bar. Don't say into, this is a dot product you are doing. Okay. Plus a bar dot dou b bar by dou t. Next one, for cross product you will have dou by dou t of a bar cross b bar. So again the fifth result is a vector function. Vector, will you get a vector or a scalar?
Vector.
Avna?
Scalar.
Dot product of two vectors is
Scalar.
always a scalar. So
Scalar.
fifth one is a scalar value. The derivative what you are going to get will be a scalar value. Okay. Whereas in the sixth one, you are going to get a vector value.
Vector.
And remember, you can write this dot product as b bar dot a dou a bar by dou t. But can you reverse this part?
No, ma'am.
Will it be same?
Minus.
No, ma'am.
Sign
With
will
a
change.
minus sign you will get. Okay. That's why I'm telling you should have a good knowledge about the basics of this dot product and cross product. This will be plus a bar. Don't change the position, otherwise the result will be wrong. If you want to change the position, accordingly you have to apply the rule also. Okay. And you should know the values of this I dot I, j dot j, k dot k. What is I dot I?
0.
1.
1.
See, ఒకరు
One.
0 చెప్తున్నారు, ఒకరు 1 చెప్తున్నారు. I dot I is 1, J dot J is 1, K dot K is 1. But I dot J is
0.
0.
0.
okay. I with remaining 2, it will be 0 dot product. What about I cross I?
K.
0.
0.
0.
Okay. I cross I is 0. J cross J is 0. K cross K is 0. What about I cross J?
K.
K. J cross K?
I.
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 I cross K?
Minus J.
Minus J.
Minus J. Okay, you have to follow that particular order. So be careful while writing the values in future. So better you write it somewhere and keep it for reference purpose. So let F bar is equal to, you have F1I plus F2J plus F3K. So here F1, F2, F3 are differentiable scalar functions of more than one variable. Okay. So F bar is defined in this manner where F1, F2, F3 are differentiable functions, but they are scalar function. Differentiable scalar functions of more than one variable. Now if you want to calculate dou F bar by dou T, one of the variable we are taking it as T. So you will get I cap dou F1 by dou T plus J cap dou F2 by dou T plus K cap dou F3 by dou T. Similarly, you can define your higher order partial derivatives also. That means suppose you take F bar to be a function of P, Q and T, then dou square F bar by dou T square is nothing but dou by dou T of dou F bar by dou T. Similarly, you can define the remaining also. Understood all this? Nothing new in it. It's just a repetition. Instead of real valued function, you have a vector valued function. Okay. Now let us see the scalar point function and a vector point function. What do you mean by
Ma'am, can you scroll up once?
scalar point? Yeah. Enough?
Yes, ma'am. One sec.
What about others? Are you people writing these things?
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Note it down because if I may not able to share the printed kind of notes, at least this will be helpful.
Yes, ma'am. Done. Thank you, ma'am.
Scalar point function. So when a function is said to be a scalar point function, so you consider a region in 3D space. Now to each point, suppose you associate a real number. So this real number is called a scalar point function. Okay, you assume some region in 3-dimensional space, and to each of this point you associate a unique real number. Okay, so this point is called as a scalar point function. If this happens, then that is called as a scalar point function defined on that region. Similarly, in that 3D space, I mean in a given region in a 3D space, if you associate a unique vector to each of the point in that region, then that is called a vector point function. Okay, so let me write the definition, then you note it down. I'll explain. Vector point function. Okay, so consider a region in 3D space. Now to each point, so let me write point as x, y, z. Suppose we associate a unique real number which is a scalar, of course, and suppose we say it as 5, then this phi of xyz is called a scalar point function defined on the region. Okay, so to explain this, suppose you take a solid and heat it, a rod you take, suppose a rod you take and heat it. Okay, so obviously when you heat the rod, to each point, at each point of that rod there will be some temperature, is it or not?
Yes, ma'am.
So here that means to each point you are associating a T, a temperature, and temperature is unique, na? I mean, some value you are going to use. Scalar temperature is just a scalar value, is it or not? So at each point on that solid, each point XYZ on that solid, you are associating a temperature TXYZ. So this T is a scalar point function. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Now similarly you can define, if to each point P of XYZ, if we associate a unique vector function f bar, okay, then f bar is said to be called a vector point function. The vector point function. Okay. Suppose you consider a particle moving in the space. You consider a particle which is moving in the space. Now at each point on its path, the particle will have a velocity. Will it have something? Suppose some particle, maybe butterfly, something, or it can be just some particle which is moving in the space. It will have some path when it is moving. Is it or not?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So when it has a path, so on that path you have so many points. Now at each point the particle will have a velocity. So velocity v bar you take. So is it a vector function or a scalar function? Tell me.
Vector.
Vector function. Okay. Why? Because it has both direction and magnitude.
Magnitude.
So each point on its path, the particle will have a velocity. So vector is the velocity is a vector point function. Similarly, you can have acceleration also. Acceleration of the particle is also a vector point function. Okay. In a magnetic field, at any point, there will be a magnetic force. And that magnetic force is a magnetic force field, you say it. Is it or not? Physics actually. Okay, so that is called as magnetic force field. So this is also an example of a vector point function. Understood? So there are several examples of this scalar and vector point functions that you will study in your subjects, physics, and there you will study in more detail. Okay. So that is about the vector point function and scalar point function. Now let us see the actual one. Here onwards actually your subject starts, that is vector differential operator. So a new operator you are going to learn today, which is called as vector differential operator, which is denoted by, here itself I'm not writing the whole story here, which is denoted by this reverse triangle. This symbol is called as vector differential operator, and you read it as del, DEL. Okay, understood? So this is an operator here. This is an operator. So in the same way, d by dt is an operator only, is it or not? Maybe d by dt, dou by dou t, these are all what? Operators only, na?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So d by dt, if I apply on some function, that means I am differentiating that function one time. So d by dt is a operation there. It is a operator there. Here also you have something like that, which is called as vector differential operator del. Now, if I just write d by dt, does it have any meaning in itself? Hmm? Okay, if I just write a minus sign, or maybe just write a multiplication symbol, will it have any meaning in itself?
No, ma'am.
No.
No.
I need to apply them on some function, on some numbers, then only it will have some meaning. Similarly, this operator also has no meaning by itself unless it operates on some function suitably. Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Now let us see how this operator is defined. Okay, is defined, this operator delta del is defined as, so this operator is defined as I dou by dou x plus j dou by dou y plus k cap dou by dou z. This is how the operator del is defined. Note down. So now onwards, we may need to apply all these operator. Here onwards, you will learn few new topics, new quantities also you will learn. That is about the gradient, divergence, curl. So all these terms, what I'm mentioning, gradient, divergence, curl, you will find them by applying this operator itself, by applying in a certain way on some function. Okay, this operator only we are going to apply and get our gradient, divergence, and curl. So this reverse triangle symbol is a vector differential operator. You read it as the del, and it is defined as I cap dou by dou x plus j cap dou by dou y plus k cap dou by dou z. So, and also this operator possesses all properties similar to those of ordinary vectors as well as differentiation operator also. Okay, it has all the properties same as that of ordinary vectors as well. Or why ordinary vectors? Because you have I cap, j cap, k cap. So overall, it's a vector kind of thing only. That's why I'm saying, okay, exactly this is not a vector, but while applying on some function, it will work as vector only. Okay, as well as the differentiation operator also. Why differentiation operator? Because you have this derivative part also, dou by dou x, dou by dou y, dou by dou z. Okay, got it all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Now let us define the gradient. What I said, now onwards we are going to define some quantities which are called as gradient, divergence, and curl. Out of which the first one is gradient. Now gradient of something, and that something has to be a scalar point function. Okay, gradient of a scalar point function. Okay, so you take a scalar function. So remember, we are going to assume, we are going to take a scalar function and apply this operator in a certain manner, and that result is called as the gradient of that function. So suppose you assume a scalar function phi of x, y, z be a scalar point function of position defined in some region of space. Then the vector function I cap dou phi by dou x plus j cap dou phi by dou y plus k cap dou phi by dou z is known as the gradient of phi. Okay, so this one, I dou phi by dou x plus j cap dou phi by dou y plus k cap dou phi by dou z, and this result is a vector function. Okay, and this is known as gradient of phi, or you can say del phi. Okay, this is how you denote it. Okay, let me write gradient of phi denoted by, either you write the word, the short form of gradient, that is grade phi you write, or you can write in this manner also, delta, not delta, del apply on phi. So there is no dot product, no cross product, and you are not multiplying also. Okay, you are applying this operator on phi. If I write d by dt of some function, that means am I multiplying that d by dt with some function? No. What I'm doing, I'm applying d by dt on some function. In the similar manner, if I write grade phi, or symbolically if I write del phi, this doesn't mean I'm multiplying phi and del here. I'm applying the operator del on the function phi, and this function phi is a scalar function. But when I apply the operator del on the scalar function, the result will be a vector function. Okay. So del phi means what? What is del? It is I dou by dou x plus k j dou by dou y plus k dou by dou z. This you are applying it on phi function. So the result is I dou by dou x, dou phi by dou x plus k j cap dou phi by dou y plus k cap dou phi by dou z. So suppose phi is xyz anukundam. Suppose for example phi is x into y into z. Then what will be the result? Tell me. Okay, let me write here. Suppose phi is x into y into z anukundam. Then what will be del phi? Tell me. Del phi means I dou by dou x plus j dou by dou y plus k dou by dou z. Phi is x into y into z. Okay, that means I dou by dou x of x y z plus j cap dou by dou y of x y z plus k cap dou by dou z of x y z. Now you have some function which is in terms of x y z, and you are partially differentiating with respect to x. So what will be the result here?
YZ.
YZ.
Similarly, j cap will have
XZ.
z plus k cap
XY.
xy. So this result you are going to get. This is del phi. This is gradient of phi, where phi is x into y into z. So it can be any function, but this is how you calculate the result. Now observe here, the function what we have taken, is a scalar function. But after applying the operator del on this scalar function, the obtained result is a what function?
Vector.
Vector function.
A vector function you will get. Okay, so remember this thing. Gradient, you won't call it as gradient of a vector function. No, you cannot do it. There is no such thing exist. Gradient of a scalar function only, scalar point function only. But the result is gradient of phi is a vector value itself, vector function itself. Now again you have certain properties related to this gradient. So let us see them. Okay, first one, suppose you have two functions f and g are two scalar functions, then gradient of f bar plus, not f bar, sorry, here I'll write, then gradient of f plus or minus g will be equal to grade f plus or minus grade g. This is just the common one. Okay. Okay. Now here, without writing, I want you to ask, what should be the necessary and sufficient condition for a scalar point function? What kind of thing it should be so that the gradient of that scalar function is a zero vector? Suppose here itself you see, if I'm going to get del phi is equal to 0 vector, what should be my phi? In which case this is possible?
If phi is a constant.
Constant.
If phi is a constant, because after addition of subtraction of this thing in between because of this function, you won't get 0 here in no way. Will you get 0 for in any way? Will you get 0?
No.
No.
Only in one way you will. Even if I calculate this at some point also, 1 comma 1 comma 1, suppose for example, so I'll replace xyz with this value 1 1 1, so still I'll get I plus j plus k, something I will get. When I will get 0? When x y z are 0. Okay, or when at point 0 0 0 you will get 0. But when you will get such kind of thing? When phi is a
Constant.
constant. Okay, so the necessary and sufficient condition for a scalar point function to be constant, here we are talking about at a point you may have a 0, but we are talking about what kind of function should be this phi so that the gradient of phi is 0 vector. This can only possible when this phi is a constant function. This is a constant. Okay, so the necessary and sufficient condition for a scalar point function to be constant is that del f, that is gradient of f, must be equal to 0 vector. This is one thing. Now, if f and g are two scalar function, you can directly multiply them and calculate its grade. So this result is nothing but f as it is gradient of g plus g as it is gradient of f. Similarly, if you multiply a constant with a scalar function, then its gradient will be equal to c times of gradient of f. Okay, here c is a constant. So here we have taken the multiplication of two scalar. Multiplication is possible, so we multiplied and calculated the gradient. So the result is this one. This is how you will calculate it. Okay. Next one, you can divide also. Gradient of f by g. So this result will be same as that of, as I told you, this operator del. Grade means what? Del operator only, na? Is it or not? So this operator del possesses all the properties as of differentiation operator also. Okay. So differentiation operator, if I write just d of f by g, you would have written g square in the denominator, g into df minus f into dg. Is it or not? So instead of the ordinary differentiation, you have this operator del gradient. So this will be g as it is in the numerator. You will get gradient of f minus f as it is gradient of g. Okay, condition is g should not be equal to 0. Understood all of you?
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
ma'am.
Why? Because gradient possesses all the properties of differentiation operator. That's why you are able to do it. Now, one more important thing here. If you take a position vector, I mean, suppose here onwards, this R bar is very important in the problems also. Even if they don't mention what is R bar, how it is written, you should know that R bar is the position vector of some point. Okay, which is given by xi cap plus yj cap plus k, I mean z k cap. Okay, so if r bar is this one, then what will be dr bar? Dr bar will be dx I cap plus dy j cap plus dz k cap. Now, if phi is any scalar point function, then d phi will be equal to dou phi by dou x dx plus dou phi by dou y dy plus dou phi by dou z dz. Is it or not? This you already know. If phi is a scalar point function, then phi can be written in this form also. D phi, not phi, d phi is. This is by using chain rule, if you remember. You remember this?
Yes, ma'am.
Now this whole thing on the right hand side, I can write this as a dot product of two vectors. Let us see how you will write. I dou phi by dou x plus j cap dou phi by dou y plus k cap dou phi by dou z. This is one vector I have written, taking the dot product with I dx plus j dy plus k dz. Can I write? Because if I take the dot product, as you know, for I dot I only I am going to get the value. For j dot j only I am going to get the component. For k dot k only I am going to get the component. Remaining all will be 0. So I dot I1 dou phi by dou x dx. Got the first point. Similarly, j dot j will be 1 dou phi by dou y dy. Okay, so this is how I have written d phi as the product of two vectors. Now, this is nothing but, what is this thing? You tell me, is it not del on phi? Is it not gradient phi?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, dot product. What is this? This one, this is dr bar. Both are vectors, that's why I am able to take the dot product. Del phi is also a vector, dr bar is also a vector. So this is how you write d phi. Understood?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So today a little bit theory only we are going through. Once this is done, we will have problems also. Now next one, directional derivative. This also you need to not may need to, but you need to calculate based on the question. Directional derivative. Okay. So let us take a scalar point function be a scalar function defined throughout some region of space. So a function we have considered, and that function is a scalar function. Now let this function have a value phi at a point P, okay, whose position vector refer to origin O is OP bar, and this I am taking it as R bar. Okay, that means a point is there somewhere, okay, to origin. This one I am taking, that is OP bar. Okay, understood? Are you able to follow? Phi is a scalar function, and this function have a value phi at some point P. So suppose this is a point P. At this point P of XYZ, you have some value phi, okay, whose position vector referred to the origin O is OP bar, which is nothing but R bar. Okay, now let us take phi plus del phi be the value of the function at neighboring point Q. So there is another point Q here. Okay, so what will be this OQ bar? So if OQ bar is equal to R plus del R, some change is there, na? Is it or not? Now tell me, then what should be my PQ bar? Tell me, what should be my this PQ bar? OP bar is R bar, OQ
bar
bar is
minus
R
OP
bar
bar.
plus del R. So what it should be?
Delta R bar.
That will be delta R bar. Okay. Now let this del R be the length of this del R bar. Let del R without a bar. Okay. Del R be the length of this vector del R bar. Then del phi by del R gives a measure of the rate at which phi change when we move from P to Q. Okay, this gives del phi by del R, it is written. So that gives a measure of rate at which phi changes when we move from P to Q. So the limiting value of del phi by del R as this del R tends to 0 is called, what does it call? It called the derivative of phi in the direction of PQ bar. Is it or not? This is called the derivative of phi in the direction of PQ bar, or simply you call it as directional derivative of phi at the point P, and is denoted by, and this is denoted by d phi by dr. Okay, so that is the definition of directional derivative. The limiting value of d phi by dr as del r, del phi by del r as del r tends to 0 is called the derivative of phi in the direction of PQ bar, or you simply call it as directional derivative of this function phi at point P. Okay. But based on this, you have a theorem, and by using this theorem only, we will calculate the directional derivative of a scalar point function at a point. Okay, in the direction of a unit vector, we will calculate this thing. So note down this theorem. The directional derivative of a scalar point function phi at a point P in the direction of a unit vector, we generally denote it with E bar, is equal to E bar dot gradient of phi. So this is the, you can say this is the formula to calculate the directional derivative of any scalar function at any point in the direction of a unit vector, that is E bar dot del phi, that is E bar dot del phi. So some result, E bar is a unit vector, del phi is a Del phi is also a what I should. It is also a vector only. So you can take the dot product. Got it, all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, do you know anything about equipotential surface, isothermal surface, and all? Have you ever heard?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
You have an idea. Equipotential surface, isothermal surface, such. What are all these surfaces? They are all level surface. Is it or not? You have an idea?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
They're all
ma'am.
level surface. So what should be the level surface definition? Here also we have level surface. So you have already an idea about it. So the level surface, okay. So if you take a surface, if a surface phi of xyz is equal to C be drawn through any point P of r bar such that at each point on it function has the same value, as at P, then such a surface is called as level surface. Such a surface is called a level surface of the function phi through P. An example is you know about the equipotential surface and the isothermal surface. Okay. So based on this, again you have a theorem. Del phi at any point, del phi, that is gradient of phi at any point, is a vector normal to the level surface phi of xyz is equal to C through that point where C is a constant. So what is gradient of phi? From this you can interpret, you can give the physical interpretation of gradient of phi. What should be the physical interpretation? That the gradient of a scalar point function phi at a point P is a vector along the normal to the level surface. Understood? What is, it should have some meaning also, na? Some physical meaning it should have, this gradient of phi. So what is this gradient of phi represents physically? It represents, gradient of this scalar point function at a point P is nothing but a vector along the normal to the level surface. And that will be in increasing direction. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, its magnitude is equal, you have some vector, okay, you calculate its magnitude. So its magnitude is equal to the greatest rate of increase of phi. Okay, so its magnitude is equal to the greatest rate of increase of phi. So the greatest value of the directional derivative of phi at a point will be equal to nothing but mod of phi at that point. So this is how you calculate the greatest value of the directional derivative. Calculate grade phi, calculate mod of it. So you will get the greatest value of the directional derivative. Directional derivative is calculated by this one, E bar dot del phi. But the greatest value of the directional derivative is calculated by this one, mod of grade phi. Understood all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, as you know, if the function is differentiable once, again also you can differentiate it. So is it not a function of function? Something like that? Or maybe suppose before explaining this gradient of a function of a function. Okay, so before going to this topic, let me explain this with the normal ordinary differentiation. Okay, so d by dx of e to the power x you are doing. Okay, maybe e to the power x square anukundam. So first you will differentiate e to the power something. So when you differentiate e to the power something, you will get e to the power that function itself. Okay, now again you will differentiate this part also, na? So that will be 2x. So here what you have done the differentiation of function of function. Okay, similarly, not only in this manner, you may have in other variables also. The same one you can apply for gradient of a function of a function. So suppose we take v as a function in terms of u, and u is a function in terms of x, y, and z. Then if you want to calculate gradient of v, that means you want to calculate gradient of f of u. Okay, so according to our definition of gradient, this is I cap dou by dou x plus j cap dou by dou y plus k cap dou by dou z. This is our operator del applied on f of u. So first what you will do? First you will differentiate. First you will apply this operator on u. F, not u. F. Is it or not?
Yes, ma'am.
So when you apply it, we don't know exactly what is that function. In my example, just what I explained, it was e. So you got some e to the power something. Is it or not?
Yes, ma'am.
So in the similar manner, depending upon whatever function, first you need to differentiate this function itself. Differentiate means apply this operator on this function itself. So you will get f dash of u. Will you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now then again this operator need to be applied on u also, na? Because u is a function of x, y, z. In the same function we have applied on e to the power x square also. So this operator again, I dou by dou x plus j dou by dou y plus k dou by dou z need to be applied on u. Okay, so this will be nothing but f dash of u into del u. Understood? No need to put even bracket here. Del u means that's it. Understood this part? Gradient of a function of a function. Huh? Is it clear, all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So here I'll just give one example related to the last one. Then in the next class, we'll continue the problems related to the above topics. Okay. So let me prove this one with one example. Okay. Okay. You need to show that del, when you apply gradient of f of r is equal to f dash of r into R bar. This is not dot product. This is just into. Okay, into R bar by R. By R. Okay. Where it is given R bar is xi cap plus yj cap plus zk cap. The same question I can mention in this form also. If R bar, as I told you, it should be understood that R bar is a position vector of the point xy, some point P of xyz. So R bar is always given as xi plus yj plus zk. So if R bar is the position vector of the point xyz, then prove that del f of r is equal to f dash of r into r bar by r. The same question in another form it is written. So in the another form, though it is not mentioned what is r bar, you should know what is r bar. R bar is xi plus yj plus zk. Got it, all of you? Now let us prove this statement. So here what you are see, here is it not a function of function? F is a function of r and r is a function of x, y and z. So you are calculating gradient of function. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
So let us prove this one, what they ask us to prove. So you know r bar is xi cap plus yj cap plus zk cap. So can you tell me what should be r square?
X square plus y square plus z square.
X square plus y square plus z square. Okay, r is the root over of x square plus y square plus z square. So r square will be x square plus y square plus z square. Now let us differentiate this one, the r square, with respect to x partially. Okay, when you differentiate r square with respect to x partially, what you will get? 2r dou r by dou x. Will you get? And on the other side, you have x square, y square, z square. You are differentiating with respect to x partially, so you will get only 2x. So from this one, you got the value of dou r by dou x. What is it? 2 cancel. X by r you will get. Similarly, you will have dou r by dou y, which will be equal to y by r, and dou r by dou z, which will be equal to z by r. Understood this much part?
Yes, ma'am.
Now let us calculate what they have asked us to. Gradient of function. Okay, so this is given by I cap dou by dou x plus j cap dou by dou y plus k cap dou by dou z applied on f of r. So accordingly, this will be f dash of r, function, whatever, we don't know what function is in terms of r, some function in terms of r. So when you apply this operator on f, you will get f dash of r. Now this will be I cap dou r by dou x plus j cap dou r by dou y plus k cap dou r by dou z. Understood now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is again I. Now we have already calculated this partial derivatives of r with respect to x, y, z. So this is x by r, y by r plus k cap, z by r. Now from this you can write r outside. What is left out? I cap x, j cap y plus k cap z. What is this thing in the bracket? Tell me. X I cap plus this is r bar by r. So proved now. I think this is what we are supposed to prove.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
From this results itself, you can calculate what is delta of log r. What it should be, tell me. From the above result itself, you can tell me. It's very simple. Use the same result Here we have del f of r. Here what is f? Tell me.
Log R.
Log.
Log. So if you apply this result, you will have r bar, you will have by r. What is f dash
1 by
of
R.
r? 1
1
by
by
r.
R.
So 1 by r means r square you will get in the
That's right.
denominator. So this is the result. So this is how you apply this result. Understood all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Similarly, you can prove this also. Note down. Prove that del r to the power n is n into r to the power n minus 2 into r bar. Prove this one. Note it down. Then you have problems related to this unit normal, what called directional derivatives and all. This will continue it in the next class. If you have any doubt, you can ask. We'll solve few problems in the next class, then we'll move to the divergence of a vector. If you have any doubts, you can ask. Otherwise, I'll take the attendance. No doubts?
Ma'am,
Yes.
need answer to one problem, ma'am.
Which
Last
one?
on Monday you gave one problem, no, ma'am.
Okay, related to which topic was it?
Find the volume bounded by the elliptic paraboloids.
Yeah. That question. Okay. Let me check what is the answer.
Ten pi cubic units we got, ma'am.
Just a second. Yeah. What is the answer?
I got 10 pi, ma'am.
10 pi. No. Answer is not 10 pi. What about others? I think this was the question. Find the volume bound by elliptic parabolas, and the parabolas are z is equal to.
Ma'am, limits how to take, I'm not getting, ma'am.
Let me explain that. And what about others? What about others? No one solved this one. You have to find the volume bounded by this elliptic parabola. Z is equal to x square plus 3y square, and z is equal to 8 minus x square minus y square. Okay. Now these are the two given surfaces which interact on the elliptic cylinders. Okay. And both here, as you see, z is equal to this thing, z is equal to this thing. So there will be some intersection point of this one. Na? Is it or not? These two given surfaces interact on the elliptic cylinder. X square plus 3y square is equal to z, which is equal to 8 minus x square minus y square. Both are equal. So if you equate them, is it or not? Let me write the statement also. The given two surfaces interact on the elliptic cylinder, that is z is equal to x square plus 3y square, which is again equal to, again z only now, or let me write in this form, which is equal to z, and again equal to 8 minus x square minus y square. Got it, all of you? Now from this, if you simplify this, what you are going to get, tell me? You will get the point x square, not the point, this one, x square plus 2y square is equal to 4. Is it correct? Yeah. Yes, 2x square you will get plus 4y square you will get, which is equal to it. So x square plus 2y square is equal to 4. So the orthogonal projection of the volume on the xy plane is the plane region R bounded by this ellipse. Okay. The orthogonal projection of the volume on the xy plane is the plane region R enclosed by the ellipse x square plus 2y square is equal to 4, which determines the limits of x and y. So now, even if you don't know all this graphically, just you have these two things. You have two equations given, two elliptic paraboloids are given, and you need to find the volume bounded by this elliptic parabolas. Okay, so this curve you calculate. From this one you will get the limits of x and y, and for z it is already there. Z is equal to x square plus 3y square to 8 minus x square minus y square. Now for y and x you can use this one. You can write y in terms of x, and x constant you can write. Okay, so y, what is y? If you calculate, what you will get? Minus
Root 4 minus x square by 2.
by 2 to root
Ma'am,
4
two
minus
separate denominator. Root 4 minus x square divided.
How you will divide by, that will be also within the root only, na?
Yes, ma'am, I did that mistake.
2 will be within the root only, na?
Yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am. I did that mistake.
2 plus 4 unte, then what you are saying will be correct. Okay, so x square by 2. This is your y limits. X limits constant. Constants means that will be from minus 2 to plus 2. So apply this root, this limits, and calculate the volume. Volume will be required. Volume will be equal to triple integral x limits, y limits, z limits, dz, dy, dx. If you solve it, you will get some answer. So solve it, and in the next class you tell me what answer you got. Nobody else did this problem? No one else did this one? See, sometimes it may not be possible, because to draw all these things you should have a good knowledge about curve tracing, which you have not at all learned. So at least based on the given things, given curves itself, you can find the limits. Okay, anything else? No one solved this problem? Please at least answer.